Welcome our newest CNBC contributor, John Steinberg, of course, the president and COO at BuzzFeed, here to talk about some Microsoft, a little Pandora. Great to see you, John.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Pandora's near an all-time high.
I know.
After some pretty good numbers, but also marketing expenses also up too.
Well, it's a great company, right? It's very much a mobile social company. 70% of the revenue is coming from mobile. The issue here is that the growth is just not there. 20% year-over-year subscriber growth. The marketing, the content expense, them buying the licenses for all the songs actually went down, is kind of at an all-time low, so that's really good. But ultimately, the company it's not a big enough idea. It's not a big enough company. They really need to innovate, I think, in the product to get where they need to go.
To get scale.
Well, yeah, to get scale, to get the kind of numbers that Wall Street wants to see, to kind of really actually even grow into the price that they're at right now. It's a little bit cheap, relatively speaking. It trades at about 8 times enterprise value to revenues. That puts it below the 10 that you would see with Facebook, but I think there's some innovation that needs to be done here.
Did they monetize too early? Did they not get big enough before they started putting on ads and charging subscriptions?
I think the two forces right now are kind of running against each other, which is the more hours you listen to, the more they pay, right? And then they have the subscriptions where when you're subscribing, they don't do the ads. I mean, luckily they brought in now this new CEO, which is guy, McAndrews, and he could do some very innovative ad products, especially in local, where they can get outsized CPMs. I think they need to make themselves a bigger media company at this point.
Just play devil's advocate here. What if they maintain relative the size that they're at now, or at least a strategy that they've adopted whereby you can't go in a restaurant without listening to Pandora, whether you realize it or not? I mean, for that restaurant owner who's piping that music throughout, obviously is willing to pay for it, doesn't want to bother with the ads. Is that, they own that space right now.
Yep.
Is that a good business long term?
Well, I think to that point, Kelly, it's sort of they're neither here nor there, right? They have triple the revenue right now from advertising that they have from subscriptions. They could go and be a Muzak type company. They could go and put themselves in every single car, wired into every single home automation sound system. But this is the kind of innovation flywheel that we need to see happening here so that they can sustain that price, because otherwise I think they're going to get whacked.
Meantime, huge week for the Xbox One. I mean, you don't see rollouts like this every day. And only a company the size of Microsoft can do it. How does that change the game? How does this console change that?
It doesn't change the game from a financial perspective for them right now. The whole Xbox business line is $5-6 billion on an $80 billion revenue company in 2014, right? So it's less than 10%. What I do think it opens up the doors to is it's very much a media console. I've used it. You can get your cable on it. You can get your TV on it. You can get your movies on it. Microsoft could really become a media company now using the hardware as a Trojan horse. And the console is definitely a cut above everything you've ever seen.
Now, it might or it might not, because you better believe the Comcast or parent company of the world are going to look at that and do everything they can to make it more difficult for Xbox to be a user-friendly experience for people who want just one device.
Right.
And they're going to say, we're innovating with our own boxes. We've got all the other features that we can add. So is it really, should we assume that just because the Xbox has these features, it's suddenly going to supplant this business?
I think Faber's exclusive today on the bid for Time Warner Cable by Comcast plays in nicely to this. The cable companies recognize that they're going to become broadband providers. They recognize that everything is going over the top. So that move there, to me, plays in nicely to the vision of you have an Xbox or some Google console or an Apple TV, you're getting your Netflix, the networks themselves go into over-the-top programming. You see all these pieces now and everybody getting their chessboard sort of arranged for this new world.
All right.
Stick around for this next
Yeah, great.
Thanks, John. Now, speaking of gaming, lucky gamers around the country finally getting their hands on the new Xbox One, as the launch of Microsoft's newest device comes just a week after the launch of Sony's PlayStation 4. Joining us now for a CNBC exclusive is Paul Raines, the CEO of GameStop, where the Xbox One is for sale. He joins us live, in fact, from GameStop store in downtown Manhattan. Paul, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Kelly. Great to be with you.
Can you tell us, first of all, what kind of demand you're seeing for the Xbox?
We're seeing very strong demand, Kelly. We had an event here. I'm at Union Square here in Manhattan. We had an event last night. It's one of those only at GameStop kind of nights. We had over 1,000 customers picking up their Xboxes. We had Zumba dance classes in one corner, zombie makeovers in the other, a lot of fun. And we are seeing very strong demand globally. Europe, Australia, Canada, as well as the United States, following on what was a very strong launch of PS4 last week.
Okay, so if you compared this with the PS4, is all of the inventory that you had distributed sold today?
Well, Kelly, I have to let Microsoft and Sony make those kinds of statements, but I will tell you that GameStop, as the largest player in the world on both consoles, will have dominant allocation of product, and we are going to have products available for consumers all the way through holiday. As far as the two consoles, they're both having a lot of success, and they both got a lot of great titles going for them.
Okay, and with all of that excitement, these two new innovative devices, all of the games that come around them, you know, your shares were hammered after people felt like your holiday guidance just didn't quite meet what the street was expecting. So what's going on? Why isn't this space expanding as much as people assumed?
Yeah, Kelly, you know, it's an unusual day, right, when you can report 20% comps and have your shares sell off. But we understand that's part of the business. I think a couple of things are interesting for investors to understand. The first is we've increased our annual earnings per share guidance all year 3 times and increased it again yesterday. So we are increasingly bullish on the category. But here's the thing. I think a lot of investors thought that the console transition was an event that would happen quickly and be done at this holiday. What it really is a multi-year transition of consumers from old platforms to new. That's why we've guided that our industry model shows growth of the industry of 20 to 30% next year and 15% the year after that. So while our guidance, we believe, gives investors great optimism around the future and about this year, it is going to take time for these consoles to sweep through. It's a very large amount of product and a big consumer transition.
But just teasing out kind of this is John Steiner, just teasing out the earnings transcript, which I was listening to today. Is the concern that not availability of enough Xbox One units, that was kind of what was hinted at by Lloyd? Is it a macro concern that the holiday in general will be weaker? What is the concern for Q4 right now? Because there should be a lot of units that should get moved during this holiday season. Is the box too expensive?
No, it's a great question. I think in our case, I think people look at us and see the dynamics of electronics. But, you know, console launches are very unique and different, and we've been through many of them at GameStop. It is always an evolving story on how much units and product we can get into our stores. You know, these are products that just became a reality, just got manufactured. They're shipping in from Asia. So while we have a very good sense of our allocation, there is always uncertainty about units and flow through the holiday. We're pretty happy with what we see, but we've also been through enough of these to know that you got to make sure you have enough product for consumers all the way through holiday. So I think there's a little bit of that question out there.
But by the end of today, you're sold out nationwide, right, of Xbox Ones?
Yeah, we'll disclose that. That's a Microsoft one they've got to disclose. We're very, very happy with our sell-through.